sixth episode in my series on Tarabala, and in this episode we will explore the second of the 5 Tarabala pairs. This pair is called Inseparable Lovers. In episode 1, we learned what the 9 Tarabala are, and that they're based on how many nakshatra separate 2 points. So let's put planet A in nakshatra 0. You can use any planet you want and any nakshatra you want. Just put a planet in a nakshatra. And then say that there's another planet, call it planet B, in the next nakshatra, right next door. If we measure from A to B, we will find Sampat-Atimitra. Sampat is a friendly, strengthening Tarabala, which means coming together, forming a union. So A gives this to B. A is giving to B the offer of union, the offer of coming together. If we measure from B to A, we will come up with Atimitra Tarabala. Atimitra is a very friendly, very strengthening Tarabala, which means love and affection, adoration. And so that's what B is giving to A. This relationship of inseparable lovers, one coming forward to offer itself and the other embracing it, will happen for any planets that are in any nakshatras, as long as those nakshatras are adjacent to each other. And what this illustrates really about relationships and love is the very simple, very important, very true dynamic that we like to go closer towards things and people that love us. Imagine 2 children in a playground. One walks up to the other and says, "Hi, want to play? Let's be friends. I like you. I have some nice toys." What you've just imagined is exactly what the Sampat-Tarabala describes. Now imagine the second child, how they respond. Well, they feel loved, they feel valued, and they respond. They accept the invitation and they feel kind of grateful for it. What this illustrates is the Atimitra Tarabala. So 2 planets that are in this Tarabala pair, they make a partnership, they form a union, a lot like a married couple. And just like married couples merge their assets, the 2 planets that are in this Sampat-Atimitra, Inseparable Lovers pair, they merge their resources together and they merge their activities together. Let's look at some examples, and that will help put this interpretive theory into practice. Here's an example where Venus and Ketu are in adjacent nakshatras. Venus is in Purva Palguni and Ketu in Magha. So Ketu is approaching Venus, Sampat, and Venus is responding to that approach with adoration towards Ketu, Atimitra. To interpret this, just remind yourself of what the planets symbolize and envision those symbolisms being married. So in this case, the sensual, sensory nature of Venus has gotten married to Ketu, so it's married to spiritual, introversive, mystical things. So you expect this person who has this chart is going to be kind of in love with spiritual things, or like spiritual, mystical art. They would probably love occult things. They might love spiritual things like gods, goddesses. Another way to look at this is that Venus is all about partnership. Ketu is isolative. It's isolationist. So you have this weird marriage between partnering and isolation. But this is a good Tarabala pair. So we interpreted that this native doesn't have a lot of partners, but the partners or partner that they have is very good. They don't have a lot of friends. They don't do a lot of socializing. They don't do a lot of partnering and interaction. But the stuff that they do in that regard is deep, intense, real. Let's look at another example of this inseparable lovers pair. Here's Jupiter in Chitra and Rahu in Shatabhishak. This example revisits the principle that we explored in episode 1 about how you count to measure the Tarabalas. After you've counted 9 nakshatras, you restart at 1. So how do you interpret Jupiter and Rahu as inseparable lovers? Do the same thing that we just did for Venus and Ketu. So for example, Rahu is very extreme and Jupiter is very philosophical, so this native probably is pretty extreme with their philosophies. In other words, they're not just passionate about philosophies or moralities or ethics. They're highly passionate about them. Also, Rahu is very polarizing. So this native probably is very polarizing in Jupiterian areas, like in areas of learning, philosophy, religion, ethics. They probably like to unite or bridge very different poles of things, or they may themselves flip, like we say flip-flop, between different extremes. And the thing about Rahu is very exotic, unusual, and Jupiter is interested in knowledge, philosophy, and so on, right? So this is a person who's in love with exotic philosophy, and they probably don't care about their birth culture as much as they care about exotic cultures. They probably don't stick with the religion that they were born into. They probably get attracted to other kinds of philosophies from faraway places. Another way of looking at this is that Rahu is very rebellious, probably don't see religion in a typical way. Yet another way to look at it is Rahu is very loud. And Jupiter is a teacher. So the person does a lot of teaching, a lot of talking. Jupiter is moral, so the person is pretty extroverted or loud, public about their morals and their religion. So this is just scratching the surface of how generous the inseparable lovers Tarabala pair is in offering detailed interpretations. And inseparable lovers is just one of 5 Tarabala pairs. I covered the inseparable siblings pair in the previous episode, and the remaining 3 pairs I'll cover in the next 3 episodes. If you find this fascinating, you'll really love the new report that I'm offering, which is a 100% Tarabala report called Star Strength. That report lays out and helps you interpret all of the Tarabala pairs that are active in your chart. You can order one right now from my website, which is vicdecarrot.com.